Hello and welcome to Somatic Woman, month one, 2026. Yes. Yes. How are you doing, Mary Richards?
I am doing great. I slept a lot last night, so everyone should be a little nervous.
Yeah, that's that's a little bit anxiety producing for me. I said right before I opened the doors, I said I'm looking forward to playing yoga with you for 2 hours, and Mary said, "You say that now."
Yeah, yeah.
As you're getting settled into the room, please find your way to the chat and let us know where in the world you're joining from. And if you see someone in your neck of the woods, you're welcome to private message them or say hello and reply to their comment. Lon says, I'm so excited to be here. We're so excited to have you here, Lon. Let me tell you our plan for today. Mary has a brief science talk. She has a few key points she wants to share with us. And I want to do a walkthrough of the learning platform to make sure everyone's on the same page. And I am going to announce the winners of our special bonuses, the Jai necklaces, and the one-on-one calls with Mama. So, where do you want to start, Mary? What is our big idea for today's class?
Okay. I have two big ideas. Okay. I'm going to start with the lower hanging fruit, if you will. Today's practice series is intended to address the most common manifestations of what's known as menopausal arthritis, the joint and body aches that arise once our estradiol dives off the proverbial cliff. Okay. So everything in the series today can be adapted to chair or at a wall, or you can do it as illustrated in my stick figure series on the mat. So that's one big idea. The second big idea is that, according to the World Health Organization, right now, today, in this moment, more than 1 billion women, more than 1 billion women are currently experiencing menopause around the world.
Wow.
And that does not include the countless women who are in perimenopause and the countless women in postmenopause. So we are not alone. We are in this together and we're going to make our way through the wilderness together. And I am so happy to be here with all of you and, to serve as somewhat of a guide and absolutely an advocate.
Yes. Okay. So good. You've all been on Zoom with us before. You know the chat is the way to communicate. Also, if you go down to the bottom of your Zoom, there's the reaction tab. So you can send, if Mary says something that you like, you can send those hearts. We love seeing those to stay connected. We can also call on you if you raise your hand and we can look at you, or Mary can speak directly to you. We love doing all of that. Um, Let me share my screen and do a brief walkthrough of the learning platform. So when you go to Lassiter.yoga and you click on my dashboard, you go to Somatic Woman. And I'm sure most of you have been here. You find the start here. This is the welcome letter. These are the books that we recommend for this class. Like all good professors, Mom and Mary are assigning their own books to read, but they're very valuable resources. There's a link to my favorite props here that's on my website. And then this is the list of things that we suspect you'll need throughout the next 7 months with us. There's also an app from Thinkific. What's great about that is you can download the lessons to your phone and you can, like, when you go for a walk, you can listen to a science talk, or I love to consume all the online courses that I take in a different format than just sitting in front of my computer. So I'll be in the kitchen, I'll be out and about, I'll be in my garden, and I'll be listening and learning. What's really important is that you make sure you're receiving emails from no reply at Lassiter.yoga. This is the way that we email you. So if you've got the automatic welcome email, then you're already getting those emails, but sometimes they land in spam. So we will email periodically out to the class. The other email that's really important is Sarah Jane, our community manager, lassiter.yoga@gmail.com. She's your first person for support, and she will forward it to mom or Mary or me if that's appropriate, or she will most likely take care of what you need. This is the link to our community, and that is on lassiter.yoga. That's our community discussion board. It looks like this. You can post something in here, and that's a great way to ask questions between sessions. If you want to catch Mary or mom or my attention specifically, you can tag us by doing the @ sign. And then if you tag Judith Hanson Lassiter, she'll come up. So if you do that, then she automatically gets an email, which is a great way. Same thing with Mary or with me. And otherwise, Sarah Jane is monitoring this and she sees everything that comes through. But if you specifically have a question for one of us, this is the fastest way. Mary, how often do you check the discussion board over the active phase of this course for the next 7 months?
Yeah, well, now that we're in it to win it, so to speak, I'll be in the course discussion board 3 days a week.
Which is fabulous. You're so lucky to have Mary's big brain helping you. And I also recommend you can go in here and look at what other people have written and read Mary's very thoughtful replies. I always tell her she should write shorter answers, but she does not listen to me. The other thing,
I try, Lizzie.
I know, I know. The other thing, which is great, is you can add here, you can attach I think you can attach a file. Yes, you can upload a file to your question. So if you have a photo, you can have a friend or a family member take a photo of you in a pose, for example, and ask for specific feedback, that type of thing. It's a great way to communicate. So that's the discussion board. That link where it says come say hello, that's how you get to the discussion board. The Zoom links I'm assuming already found. They're right here. I'm going to release the content month by month so you don't feel overwhelmed. Month 1 is now available, and there's a welcome letter which walks you through. It's very straightforward, and we recommend that you go through the content in order. We've also included the 2024 class waiting for you. It's a different sequence because, Mary, why is it a different sequence?
Because I've learned since 2024. Since 2024, I've taken a bunch of courses. And in fact, I started PT school yesterday. So like I my thinking, my practice evolves as time goes on. I'm not, a rolling stone gathers no moss.
Yes. Oh, woohoo, Mary, says Jen. So good. Okay, give me a thumbs up reaction if this is making sense. Any questions about the learning platform? We've also made this Luna bot, which is, I love this is an AI generated photo, and there's a little Easter egg in here if someone can find it, a little wink to the AI generated image. Um, and this is the link that you click through, and it'll take you to ChatGPT where you can chat directly with her. If you're on a free account with ChatGPT, Lunabot will work. She will work better. You'll have more credits and be able to have longer conversations. If you're on the $20 a month account, that's up to you. If you are not interested in AI, we know we have a diverse group of students in the room. If you're not interested in AI, please just ignore that tab on the course and move forward with the human interaction. We understand that. We really want, I'm having fun learning this new world of AI and training. I spent the last 2 months working with an AI expert to write the back end instructions, the 6,000 word instructions to Lunabot to tell her how she is supposed to help us. And so that has been a learning process, just as Mary's saying. So we're interested in providing this as a resource. If you're not interested in using it, let it go. And where's the link to Mary's talk you showed earlier? Okay, Agatha, let me show one thing here. So, if we go to month one, embracing menopause, and you scroll down to the class 2024 with Mary Richards, that's the month one class from the cohort 2 years ago. We've included that recording for you, plus the sequence PDF, and the key points are just right below the video. You're welcome to use that as an additional resource. But like Mary said, it's like you're taking a college class now, and then we're also including the lectures from the last year, right?
Yeah.
So this is the professors are allowed to evolve and change, but the overall curriculum remains the same, and the overall themes for the month remain the same.
Yeah. 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 And if
um
I could just add, Lizzie, like, so yeah, I'm constantly studying. I have serious nerd problems. And I'm constantly studying, especially because science is always evolving. I don't know if y'all are aware, but for instance, recently, just I think it was 2 weeks ago, maybe, may have even been last week, what we used to know of as polycystic ovarian syndrome, PCOS, is now called PMOS, polymeta polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome, because there's a recognition the science has evolved to actually truly capture the full extent of that syndrome, which isn't just about, immature follicles conglomerating on your ovaries. It's a recognition that it's a profound hormonal uh,
Dysregulation.
that has wide-ranging effects that impact every aspect of your health. And because I am constantly taking classes and reading scientific literature, I try to stay abreast of these things because for my own sake, but also because I have the audacity to share my opinions and perspectives with all of you.
Yes. Okay. Nita from Chicago says, I'm very slow with technology and will have a few questions always after. Thanks. Absolutely, Nita. We want to move at your speed. And those students who have taken courses with us before know that our learning platform is really simple to navigate. Things are there for you, they stay where they are, you can find them. That's why also one kind of best practice that I use whenever I email you something, I don't email it in the email. Like I don't send you the PDF notes inside of an email. I always send you the link to the PDF notes where they live on the platform. So because you have 3 years of access to this course, we want this to be the library. And as we add bonus resources or as we move through the months together, everything will always live here. So you can have a sense of order. Robin says, thank you. Yeah. And like Mary says, I'm always taking online courses and I'm always like learning what they're doing and saying, like, oh, I think, so what I like, what I don't, I try to do it what I think is the clearest way. And I know because we have students who are not as fluent with technology, we always want to help you. And then Sarah Jane is always the resource, lassiter.yoga@gmail.com. So I want to announce now the winners of our special bonus stack. By the way, those of you who joined on May 18th and got the bonuses from the Menopause is Not a Mistake, those will arrive automatically in your inbox. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I mean, in your dashboard, your lassiter.yoga. Some of you have been emailing Sarah Jane. They're coming. It takes a couple days. Please be patient with us, but it will automatically happen. You don't need to do anything to claim those bonuses. Those extra courses will appear in your lassiter.yoga dashboard, and I will email you when they're in there. So the bonuses: two lucky yogis inside of Somatic Woman have won a free Jai necklace from my Spirit Jewelry collection. So one of them is the silver necklace, and that's going to Jennifer ZB. Congratulations, Jennifer. I drew the names at random from the spreadsheet of enrolled students. And number two, the gold plated sterling silver Jai necklace is going to Kendall H. Congratulations, Kendall. I will email both of you your special code to order those for free from my website. So now we have the private one-on-one. This is the last of our bonuses. All of the students who enrolled in Somatic Woman were eligible for these two bonuses. I pulled up everyone in the course and then I randomly selected. So there are three yogis who have won a 45-minute private one-on-one call with Mama. And the first one is Laurel H. And the second one is Angela N. And our third lucky yogini is Kelly L. So congratulations to all of you. I will email all of you latest tomorrow. Yay! With the information about how to connect with mom. Robin says, very helpful for the post-menopause brain, especially we who did not grow up with this technology. Yes, we are techno immigrants, not citizens. Mama calls herself a pre-millennial. Maybe that fits you, Robin, as well, a pre-millennial. Okay, Mary, that's everything from me. I'd love to hear from you, your few points on science today before we move to the mat and do our practice.
Okay. So, first of all, we're the biological default. 51.8% of the population is female. And so all of us at some point, if we're lucky to live long enough, are going to go through the menopause transition. The average age in the United States is for menopause, for that 12-month period where you don't have a period, is 51. Okay. But perimenopause starts years before, as much as 10 years before. The average perimenopause transition is 4 to 6 years. And that can begin for some people in their mid 30s. They may have early onset perimenopause and wrap everything up by their early 40s or mid 40s. Most folks hit perimenopause in their mid 40s. And again, this is a long, fraught transition. And basically, what happens is, we go from having 25 to 45-day cycles to inconsistent cycles. And that's because our number of eggs, of follicles, are decreasing. So we're no longer releasing eggs every month, but our estrogen is still ramping up every month to thicken the uterine lining, the endometrium. Um, but then we'll have like cycles where we don't release an egg. That's called anovulatory. So a cycle without ovulation, and then we don't have any progesterone. So what happens is we get this imbalance between estrogen and progesterone. And in general, this imbalance leads to estrogen dominance, which triggers symptoms like headaches, mood swings. And as we get deeper into the perimenopause period, vasomotor symptoms like hot flushes or flashes. I never thought of, well, I still have them. What am I saying? I never think of them as flashes. For me, it's like a whole body flush. And so I call them hot flushes. We'll get night sweats and we'll get heart palpitations. A lot of us experience cardiac arrhythmias. And some of them can become really serious. You can develop AFib and things like that. Okay. Now, this doesn't happen for everyone because everybody's unique, just like everyone else. So just know I'm speaking in general terms, and everyone's going to have a different experience. Okay. Um, but the last 4 to 5 years of perimenopause are typically when we experience the worst symptoms. And that's when we get the night sweats and the increase in visceral belly fat. We lose lean mass. We lose bone density. We don't feel physically as strong because our mitochondria, the fuel engines within our cells are no longer working as efficiently, so we're not producing as much contractile power because we're in a state of hormonal chaos. But this is not a tale of woe. Okay, this is just what we experience. This is simple, um, biology, and there are lots of things that we can do to help, which is what this course is about. It's how we can support ourselves through this transition and beyond, and especially beyond. Okay, but I know I start to talk fast, so Lizzie, zap me if I start talking too quickly. Okay. Um, the key hormonal indicator of menopause, however, is not estrogen, it's follicle stimulating hormone, because that's how many eggs you have. Are you still Are you still ovulating? Do you still have eggs to release? And we're not technically in menopause, post-menopause was more accurate because menopause is really just that 12-month period with a 12-month span where we don't have a period. Um, when our stimulating hormone is plus 30 on your blood tests, you're officially through the transition. Okay. But a more accurate barometer for where you are as you progress into the postmenopausal life stage are your symptoms. Are you experiencing joint aches, insomnia, sleep latency, night sweats, general temperature regulatory problems, mood swings, memory loss, brain fog?
Okay, which of those things are you experiencing? I'd love to see that in the chat. Everyone, what's going on in your body right now? Or you can also say what was strong for you a decade or two ago. I'd
And
love to see.
just so you know, the vasomotor stuff can persist for 20 years after your last menstrual period.
Great.
Gift that keeps
Okay.
on.
Jean says all of them.
Okay.
Nita says insomnia, joint aches, brain fog, memory loss. Okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because when you were going through that list, Mary, I was thinking like, check, 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 check. Because I'm 43, but mom stopped bleeding at 47. There was an earlier question about is it related to your mother and your grandmother? I think it's very correlated.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to that in a second. I love where that's going. Yeah. Um, so this is the thing, perimenopause is a long period. It's a long experience. Menopause itself is just that 12 months, right? Without a period. And then the rest of our life, our biological state, we are postmenopausal. And since the average age of death in the United States for women is 81, postmenopause can be up to half of your life. Okay. And so we need more education around this because like we know, for example, in dudes that testosterone is the primary hormone, right? But we don't understand as clearly the role of estrogen for women. Estrogen is a huge regulatory hormone that extends beyond our menstrual cycles and potentiality for pregnancy. Okay. It's like it affects your tissue elasticity, especially when we think about estrogen in relationship to progesterone and testosterone. Okay. So it's a big deal. And we basically make three different types of estrogen. I talk about this in the science talk, but I just really want us to kind of have it in our heads for the practice today, because today's practice is really about the body and joint aches that so many of us experience. Um, we make three different types of estrogen. Okay. We make something called E2 estradiol, and that's the star of the show, the the diva, if you will. And estradiol is what goes kaput when we go through the menopause transition. We no longer make it in, our ovaries are just like, that was nice, see you later. So then we primarily make something called E1 or estrone. And that is actually made from our adipose tissue, from our fat tissue. And that's why, as our ovaries stop producing estradiol, and we begin to lay down more fat because the estrone picks up some of the slack, if you will. So let's make friends with our adipose tissue because the estrone is trying to help us. The issue is, where is the fat deposition primarily occurring? And for many of us, it occurs viscerally. It occurs in the belly space. It's not the sub-Q, that you can grab. It's the fat that's infiltrating between your organs, especially your liver. Okay? We also make estrone, however, in the thigh fat, and there's this funny saying. I mean, I think it's funny, maybe because I have tree trunk hiker thighs. I don't know. It validates me in some way. Thick thighs save lives because the thigh fat estrone is better for you, if you will, than belly fat estrone because belly fat affects organ function. So you'll go to the doctor, and one of the reasons why they'll say you need to lose weight, I hate that, by the way, because it's not about weight, right? Is because the visceral fat estrone contributes to vasomotor symptoms. So the belief is if you lose weight, it will reduce the intensity as well as duration of many of the symptoms we experience once we're in that estradiol desert. I, however, like to think in terms of body composition because muscle weighs more than fat. So weight isn't necessarily a great measure. Body composition is. And a lot of what we'll do during this course, one of the reasons why we added the somatic strength pillar to this course is because I want us to do more to help our body composition to reduce adipose tissue and bump up our lean muscle and bone tissue because lean muscle and bone density go together. And those are key for our health because as we stop producing estradiol, we lose lean muscle and bone density. Okay. Okay. All right. Now, the last estrogen that we produce is something called E3 or estriol. And we primarily produce that during pregnancy. That's when it really goes off the rails, if you will. And otherwise, we make like just trace amounts of E3, just barely detectable. So, what we're primarily concerned with as we move through our life cycle is the relationship between estradiol and progesterone and estrone and progesterone. Are you with me? I'm throwing a lot of terms at you.
Yes, I think we are. Yeah, lots of thumbs up. Okay, good, good, good.
Okay, okay, great. Okay. So, I was saying that estrone or E1, that's produced by our fat tissue, and that increases the likelihood of the vasomotor symptoms. The big three are the hot flashes, the sweating, and the heart palpitations. I'm laughing because I'm like a huge sweater. I'm like a biohazard. I'm like constantly like, oh my God, I'm so
So,
sorry.
what I heard to recap is that there's three types of estrogen. One type of estrogen is produced by the ovaries. We're losing that rapidly in perimenopause and after menopause. Then the second kind of estrogen lives in our fat.
Mhm.
And the third type of estrogen only happens when we're pregnant. So we don't have to pay that much attention to it for the purposes of this course.
It doesn't only happen in pregnancy, it primarily happens in pregnancy. So, yeah, otherwise, it's barely detectable in our blood serum measure.
Okay, clear, clear.
Okay, so as estradiol goes down and estrone goes up, so as over ovarian, let's call it ovarian estrogen goes down and adipose estrogen goes up, um, that's when we start to experience more and more symptomatic presentation. All of this, however, all of our symptoms are affected by our genes. So when your mother and grandmother and great grandmother went through perimenopause, menopause will affect you when it happens for you. Okay, so there's definitely a genetic, one could say an epigenetic component and lifestyle. Do you drink alcohol? Do you smoke? Yada, yada, yada. Your diet. What's your diet like? If you eat a lot of baked goods, pasta, I'm just saying a lot of, okay? So listen, I love pasta. Okay, so I'm not saying don't eat it. But when you eat these things, that diet is a big player. And also the cultural paradigm in which you live affects symptoms as well as self-perception. And in cultures that value aging, that have a reverence for aging, symptoms are less. There's less depression and anxiety in women as they age, but in cultures that value youth, there is increased incidence of negative body image and higher incidence of depression because nothing functions in isolation. And our brains and bodies are not separate from one another. The mind body complex is so interdigitated that the only divisions that exist intellectually. They're intellectual constructs that we've created to make things easier for us to discuss. But when we separate mind from body, culture from behavior, culture from perception, etc., we lose a lot. We lose a lot in the dialogue. And so it just makes things harder for us, right? And so instead of thinking about perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause as something to be feared or fought against in some way, and we see this all the time. And please, I'm not knocking folks who get fillers or whatever. If you want to do that, hey, I'm a huge bodily autonomy person. You do you, boo, right? But so much of that comes from external pressure. And, um, you know, it affects us. And how we perceive ourselves affects how we feel. And how we feel affects how we behave, and how we behave affects our health in profound ways, right? Okay. So I don't want to be all like lectury or sanctimonious about this because I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I just want to say that, like, as women, we're already swimming against the current. That's all. That's all. Um, So, what also happens as we increase adipose produced estrogen, estrone, and ovarian estrogen and estradiol goes down, is we have an increase in blood sugar, our insulin resistance goes up. This increases fat deposition in our cells and in our liver. And the liver is my favorite internal organ because the liver is like the brain of the body below the neck. The liver governs metabolism. It's, a big deal. And we increase cortisol from estrogen, from that imbalance between estrogen and progesterone, because we are estrogen dominant. We have higher cholesterol levels, which means more visceral fat. See, it's a cycle, right? It's a cycle. And we become less anabolic, meaning we build less tissue, less lean muscle tissue, less bone tissue. And that's why our lean muscle mass goes down and we have less bone turnover, which affects our bone density, right? And also our blood pressure goes up because estrogen is related to nitric oxide, which is related to the contractile responsiveness of our arteries. And so we lose some of the elasticity in our muscular arteries, and so our blood pressure goes up. And our inflammation goes up. Our fluid retention goes up. And this is one of the reasons why we develop so-called menopausal arthritis, because we have more inflammation in our bodies, which also affects our gut function, our GI function. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, I just want us to have a clear picture. So estradiol goes down, serotonin also goes down, and that increases our emotional reactivity and reduces our mood regulation.
Someone earlier in the chat said what her symptom was, that she was super duper grumpy.
Oh,
That's like serotonin plummeting.
oh my gosh. Like I joke all the time that Menno Rage is real, because it is, and that the sticker, the estradiol sticker that I have on my butt is not picking up enough slack. Okay.
Ja-
It is
Jane says,
amazing.
Jane says, you just described my body and my life these last 2 years,
Yeah,
Mary.
yeah, yeah. And this is our reality, right? This is our lived reality. And we're taught like that this is a really bad thing. And but it's not a bad thing. Okay. It's difficult. This is difficult. But the great thing is we're yoga folk. We're yoga people, and yoga is the conscious choice of the difficult. So we're going to make our way through it. Okay. But I want us to understand just everything that's happening. It's not like you're not making it up. Okay. It's happening. And it's affecting all aspects of your life and health. Okay. And so, you know, also estrogen, estradiol is related to our thermoregulation. Like that's why we sweat and have the hot flashes and all of these things. Okay. And I want to put this in the context now of progesterone, because see, progesterone, think progestation, progesterone counterbalances estrogen. All right. But here's the thing. Eggs go down, progesterone goes down. Our brains will always make progesterone, but they will make less of it. And the fascinating thing like about progesterone, for instance, is progesterone increases connective tissue tension, whereas estradiol reduces connective tissue tension. That's why, like when if you harken back, if you are no longer having periods, or you're having periods, you may notice your SI joints ache. You feel kind of loosey goosey in the joints, right? You can thank estrogen for that. But you're still making enough progesterone to counterbalance that, so it'll rein you in at some point. But once we get through the menopause transition and the like, so we're no longer making estradiol and we have a lot less progesterone. So we are more prone to connective tissue injury.
Okay, I think that's a key point. That's a really key point. So you're saying because of the hormonal picture, then we're in the menopause transition and postmenopause going to have more issues with our connective tissue? And
Yeah.
what are the common places that we experience that?
Knees, hips, SI joints, shoulders.
You also told me once plantar fasciitis is very connected.
Because 95% of plantar fasciitis comes from your hips. And as you lose connective tissue stability and lean muscle mass, it's going to affect your balance and your relationship with the earth. Those
Okay,
are,
Lisa says frozen shoulder. Give into the chat if what joint and connective tissue issues you are currently experiencing or have been through in the past couple of years. Um, SI, hip, plantar fasciitis, frozen shoulder, knees, SI joint, knees, frozen shoulder, plantar
lymphedema.
fasciitis,
I saw lymphedema. Remember what I was saying about fluid retention? We retain more fluid. And
all
you'll
of the above.
Yeah. So like this is the thing, like menopause, post-menopause. We've moved through the menopause transition. We're at increased risk for ligamentous injury, for connective tissue problems and low back pain and things like that. Here's the other thing, progesterone is a calming anti-anxiety hormone.
Mm,
And it's related to our mood regulation. So as our progesterone goes down, our mood regulation goes down, and we get the brain fog. We don't have great memory consolidation. So you're like
yes.
wandering around the house, like you've misplaced your car keys, and you're wandering around the house, and then you're like, what the hell am I looking for?
Yeah. And Julie says much more anxiety now too. Yes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And also, like, progesterone works with testosterone to help us emotionally manage pain. Progesterone goes down and we become more pain reactive, just as we're experiencing more physical pain. Now, some of us may have a history of sport and childbirth and things like that. So we already are accustomed to accommodating pain. And so we may not notice that as much, but we definitely, as progesterone goes down, pain sensitivity goes up, right? And also, progesterone, just like estrogen, works together to preserve our bone mass. So progesterone's going down, bone mass is going down, because we're losing mineral density. And here's the last thing I want to point out.
Because I
Okay.
want to move to the mat. I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah, I know,
anxious.
I know. Last thing I want to point out is something called cardiac vagal tone.
Okay.
We commonly refer to as heart rate variability. Progesterone is intimately related to your heart rate variability. Okay, so generally speaking, the higher your heart rate variability, the more resilient you are to stress, the better the better your recovery rates are from stress. Progesterone goes down, HRV, heart rate variability goes down, so we have less stress resilience. Okay. Here now I'm just gonna, I'm sort of like the witches in Macbeth. I like to cause trouble. I like to stir the cauldron and then walk away. Okay. So you may have a device. Pick a device, a health metrics device, or a ring. This is just my wedding ring, but you may wear a ring or whatever. These devices that claim to measure HRV are not based on an algorithm. The algorithm that they use to determine HRV does not take into account hormonal fluctuations, especially for perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. So you are getting false readings from your device. That's right, because they're based on men.
Which is so interesting because I've been wearing a Whoop for
Uh-huh.
the since the beginning of the year, and it's a continuous heart rate monitor. And I've noticed is that my heart rate variability, the second half of my cycle is super low. And the AI in there that tells me what I have to do, it's like my heart rate variability is very connected to my cycle, but it is telling me like as if there's something wrong with me in the and I'm like, I'm not doing anything different. My heart, it's just I don't have any progesterone.
Because it thinks you're a dude.
Yeah, because it thinks I'm too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, how can we increase our heart rate variability?
Great. So there's so many things we can do, and that's what we're going to do now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a series that's going to help with everything I just talked about. Okay? And so you're going to need props because we're going to do some functional movement training and asana. Uh, and then we're gonna have a Shava because we
Okay.
got everything. So here's the thing. We gotta do body resistance work. We gotta do strength training. Sorry, it is what it is. You want to preserve lean muscle mass, you want to preserve bone density, you gotta lift heavy shit. Forgive the language, but it's true. And that may be your body, especially if you've never picked up weights before. Now, I've been lifting weights since I was 14, and I've always taught this way. I've been a teacher for 26 years, and I've always said to people, yoga is not a panacea. Yoga, it's not the modality for strength training. That's its own thing. Okay. But there are ways to combine in a way that's so enjoyable, so fun, and that's what we're going to do. So you need to get your props, right? And we're going to start, please, if you cannot get up and down from the floor comfortably with confidence, with good motion control, I want you to consider just turning your shapes, you know, to a chair or to standing. And we'll try to show
Yes. We
well.
will remember to demo those as well. And
Yes,
you can remind us in the chat if you want to see any of the moves in the chair or at the wall.
yes, please. Um, we're going to start with cat cow
Okay.
because I love cat cow.
Everybody loves cat cow.
I mean, it's all about enlivening the lumbosacral rhythm or the lumbopelvic rhythm, which is the primary rhythm of movement in the body. So I want you to, and again, you could do this seated. You can do this seated, or you can do it sitting in a supported squat position at the wall. And I want you to just find your rhythm. Let's just take cat cow vinyasa, because it is a vinyasa in my mind. Let's just take this as an invitation to reconnect with ourselves. Let's say your wrists bother you. You could put your forearms on blocks. You could put your forearms on a chair. Again, let's say your knees bother you. You can do this seated in a chair with your hands resting on your thighs. And I want you to just do, I mean, honestly, when I practice by myself, I just do this until I feel complete. I kind of know when I'm ready to move on. But since we're sharing time together, I'm gonna, kind of push our time a little bit, if you will. And so I'd like you to do 3 or 4 more. And then after you've done 3 or 4 more, I'd like you to come onto your back body if you're on the mat. If you're in the chair, I want you to just sit comfortably. If you're at the wall, I'd like you to stand in mountain pose. Okay? And you'll come onto the back body if you're on the mat. Bend your knees, place your heels comfortably on the mat, arms long by the sides of the body. And then exhale one at a time. Bring the knees up toward the body so that they're centered over your hips, and we're going to come to the dead bug. Okay, so you're going to sweep one arm overhead and you're going to tap a foot or straighten the opposite leg. You're either going to do a straight leg version or a foot tapping version. Lizzie, as you work through these, would you show it with the heel tap as well? Because listen, don't push yourself too hard. You need to be able to stabilize a lumbar curve. Now, is your low back moving down toward the mat? Yep. Are you trying to force it down onto the mat? Nope.
And I still feel a little space there. Is that what you want?
That's normal. Yes,
Okay.
that's normal. And I want you to just keep that stable. Try not to poof your belly up. Try not to dome your belly. Think about holding your organs down and back. And you can do this as well. You can have straight legs. You can do a scissor leg movement, but it's got to be tolerable and sustainable for you. And you're not rocking around from side to side. You're staying right in the middle. And I'm a huge fan of core stabilization. I believe it's like probably the most important body skill we have is the ability to manage the weight of the pelvis in the context of gravity. Now, if you're seated, you're doing this exact same thing. If you're standing, you're just standing up and basically you're marching. Standing dead bug is great. I like to do a variation in Warrior 3 because I'm a demon.
I keep advocating for changing the name of this post to Dead Yogi. Because I don't want to be a bug, but I do
Think
feel
about all
like
the great bug poses like Uttanasana, and Titibhasana, firefly pose, or scorpion, right? So, yeah. All right, let's just do three or four more. And then once you do three or four more, I'd like you to roll onto your belly. Now, if you're seated or standing, you're just going to come to either your seated middle ground or your Tadasana. Okay?
and would you put into the chat and Mary can look at it now? Just if you are going to do this whole practice in a chair or if you need the wall, put that in so she has a sense of how many people that is or
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah,
how to speak to that. Yeah.
in chair. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so now what we're going to do, you're in a neutral position. All right. What I want you to do is I want you to let your arms rest naturally by the sides of the body. Okay. And all I want you to do now is without shrugging your shoulders, I want you to squeeze your shoulder blades toward the midline of the body. Pull the shoulder blades together and then pull them down toward your bum. Together and down toward your bum, and then relax. And then you're going to do this again. Pull your shoulder blades together and down toward your bum. And you stay here. We hold. Ultimately, we try to hold for a count of 10 before we release, but it's got to be sustainable for you. And then we relax. When you're ready, you release the effort. But we keep going. You find your own rhythm now. And this is such a good, I do this seated all the time where I'm seated and I just squeeze my shoulder blades toward one another and pull them down toward my bum. And I hold. Because see
And
this,
what is your thinking about this? Why do you like this movement?
because so much of what we do in life is arms in the front of the body. And this
Hmm.
stretches the pec minor and takes some of the weight of the world off of our shoulders. Now, am I going to do this in downward facing dog or plank pose? No. But in this pose, yes, yes. There we go. Let's just do a few more. Let's say three more. Yeah. And what I do when I work series, when I develop these series, is I do it. I fortunately, my life is structured in such a way that I am able to devote significant time on a daily basis to my nerdery. And I do this, I will take this series that I've drawn out and then I do it in the chair. And then I do it,
Hmm.
and then I do it in the bed. And then I break it into bits while I'm wandering around my house or whatever, or I'm stuck in an airport because that's how I develop my teaching vocabulary.
Mm.
Okay. Palm position doesn't matter. Your hands are just window dressing here. All that I want you to focus on is the scapular setting. That's what this is called. Let's do one more. Just let your arms are smarter than you are. Your palms should be ideally facing your body, but you know, yeah. And now, without too much ado, roll over onto your back body if you're on the floor. Knees bent. And no matter what your position is now, bring your arms up into a cactus position. Yep. So you've externally rotated at the shoulder, at the glenohumeral joint. Your elbows are bent. Your palms are facing forward or toward the ceiling. Okay. And bring your your elbows down just a little bit. So you're not up above the roof of your shoulder. And now I want you to float your hands and forearms off the mat and try to touch the floor by your hips. Keep your elbows bent. Don't force it. Just see where you can go without distorting your wrists. Keep your wrists neutral. And then you're going to inhale and float your hands and forearms back to the starting position. So this is an internal and external rotation exercise, and this is for those shoulder aches and pains. Okay.
What is your take on elbow stand? Is it a healthy movement for the shoulders if you have no pain?
I'm personally, I love Pinchamayurasana. I love the elbow stand, but I could push a car out of a ditch. So, I'm really strong. It's much harder than handstand,
Hmm.
you know,
But it's not an unhealthy movement if we can do it.
if you can do it. Yeah. And Lauren Fishman has done research that shows like headstand, appropriately loading the shoulders in Sirsasana can really help with rotator cuff problems. So,
Oh.
Laurel, I'm not sh I talk about flexion for sure. Flexion is where most people with osteoporosis have the highest risk for fracture, for vertebral fracture, you know. So, I do a ton of osteoporosis research and the like. So I'm with you. I think that's what you're mentioning in the chat. Elbow stand, Lynn, is like headstand, but you're on your forearms and your neck is an extension and you're looking at the floor under your face.
Like this. You're like this, but then you kick up.
Exactly. Exactly. It's called Pinchamayurasana. Okay, so let's do one or two more of the internal external rotation. And please, you're not forcing the range. That's the key.
But the
You got
range has increased since the first one.
because motion is lotion.
It's awesome.
Motion is lotion. And especially for folks with the sticky shoulders, with the adhesive capsulitis, the frozen shoulder, you can gently work this. You can do it in bed, but please, no force. And then what we're going to do is complete the movement you're engaged with. I want you to roll to the side. If you're down on the mat, you're going to roll to the side. You're going to rest there for at least 4 rounds of breath. Okay, because we become more sensitive as we age to changes in body position and change and fluctuations in blood pressure. And so we want to ease our transitions. Okay. Yeah. For frozen shoulder, you got the modification is to reduce range. And frozen shoulder, they may not be able to do this IR, ER exercise at all. So you got to work the shoulder blades first. You got to do that scapular setting first and see if it progresses. But that's why I'm saying no force or strain. So you work shoulder blades, you do things like shoulder shrugs, etc. And we get more into this through the course. Remember, this is day one. Okay. So, and believe me, I will give you too much too fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so once you transition to seated, now everyone's going to come to the wall. If you're able to stand on your own power, you're going to come to the wall, you're going to put your back at the wall, and then it's up to you if you add the squat. I
Mm.
love to add the squat, to sit down into the chair that isn't there. Can you do this seated in a chair? Absolutely. It's just going to be a bit different. But I love an isometric hold, a long isometric hold in the lower extremity, because that improves your blood pressure regulation, believe it or not. So here you are. You're sitting here thinking, why am I taking
Why did I sign up for this course?
Now, bring your arms into that cactus position again, but keep your elbows closer to your body. Bring your elbows down a little bit, just so you're relaxed, all right? And now I want you to try, without force or strain, to keep your knuckles at least touching the wall lightly. And now slide your arms up the wall and then drag your elbows down towards your waist. Just try to keep some contact between your hands and the wall, and it's called a wall climb. Now, you can turn your feet out a little bit if your knees are barking at you. You can come up a little higher. You reduce the size of the squat, right? Hold a nickel between your butt cheeks. Push your knees out toward the little toe sides of the feet. Come
Took a
out when
little,
you're ready. Come out when you're
little.
ready. I like, I like to hold things until I can't hold them anymore. Not so that I'm gonna fall, but so I'm like, oh, I'm done. And then I walk around a bit and then I do it again. So we're feeding two birds with one seed here. You're loading your powerful, powerful lower extremity and you're mobilizing your shoulders. And again, for someone with frozen shoulder, it may be that you're just having them stand at the back of the wall. And Lizzie, if you'd stay at the back of the wall, when after you walk a bit, shake your legs out a little bit.
And remind us, Mary, are the shoulder blades coming with us as we
Oh
lift the
God,
arms?
yes. Oh God, yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your shoulder blades have to move. They're
Well,
the
if
engine.
you want happy shoulder blades.
Yes, yes. Now, some people, I'm one of those people, I can keep my forearms and the backs of my hands on the wall when I do this, but I'm a super freak. That's not normal. Okay, that's why I say your hands, the backs of the hands touching. But let's say you've got frozen shoulder. Okay, so now you're just standing comfortably at the wall. Turn your palms open, Lizzie. Supinate. Yep. And now what I want you to do is I want you to think about just dragging the shoulder blades up the wall. Feel the wall behind you. And then consciously slide your shoulder blades down.
Mhm.
Pull them up and pull them down
I
because, uh-huh.
I love the way you're cueing it from the shoulder blades. You didn't say shrug your shoulders. My focus is really on the shoulder blades.
Exactly, because you know where adhesive capsulitis, frozen shoulder occurs? Lizzie, would you come closer to the camera for a second? Everyone take a break. Okay, take hold, Lizzie, of your shoulder, your arm where it comes into your body. And work up onto the top of your shoulder. You're going to feel a little roof there. That's called the acromion process. Okay.
Hmm.
And then you feel down and you'll feel the top of your shoulder, your arm bone, your humerus.
Hmm.
Just everyone, just sort of feel around the top of your shoulder. It may be tender. Okay. All right. So what you're beginning to feel is something called the glenohumeral joint. That's where the head of the humerus meets something called the glenoid fossa. Oh, wait, what happened? On the shoulder model right here. Because doesn't everyone? Okay. So this is the head of the humerus, and it articulates with this shallow depression in the lateral at the side of your shoulder blade. This is toward the outside of your body, toward your armpit. This is the vertebral border or the medial border toward your vertebral column. Okay. So where we get adhesive capsulitis is here.
Oh, it's the relationship between the shoulder blade and the arm bone.
Exactly. So if you want to relieve this, you have to train this.
Okay, and I have to confess, just to, give everyone permission to be where they are on their learning process. Before I started studying anatomy with mom and Mary Richards, I did not realize that the shoulder joint was there and that the shoulder joint was this bone and the scapula. Like I didn't really realize, this is so embarrassing. I didn't really realize, but I want to normalize it. I didn't really realize that the scapula was part of the shoulder joint.
Sure, sure.
Like I just kind of thought the shoulder joint was this arm somehow connecting to the body, but I didn't realize. And that's what you just showed, and what's really clear and that I now understand is that the arm bone, it's hard to see on that model, but there's an internal surface on the shoulder blade that it creates the joint.
Yeah, because see, this head of the humerus is convex. It's a rounded knob. Um, but this little fossa means cavity or cave. There's this shallow depression that it is
Receives. Yeah, it's
extended.
like this.
Yeah, and so when we have shoulder problems, whether it's frozen shoulder, I want to put the clavicle up like a mustache. Whether it's adhesive capsulitis, frozen shoulder, or
Rotator cuff
off, whatever, our thinking is often to work here,
to
because
move the arm.
that's like the most available to us. But the key to therapeutic rehabilitation and functional retraining is actually the scapula, because see, it forms the joint concavity. And so to improve quality and range of motion and strength, we need to train the concavity.
The scapula.
Yes, and if we see how the scapula is curved, see it's not flat because it articulates, if we think of my fingers as ribs, it's articulating with our ribs. And so
Which
we
is also like mind blowing that that's another joint we need
this
to
is a
take care
joint.
of.
This is a
Yeah.
joint, the scapulocostal articulation or the scapulothoracic articulation. And if this doesn't move well, and sorry, and this way, if it doesn't do this and this and this, well, that affects our, of course, this range of motion, but it also affects range of motion in our neck and our upper back, as well as our postural display. And it's one of the reasons why we'll often round, we'll get hyperkyphotic in the upper back because we are out of functional sync with the shoulder blades.
Okay, this is so amazing. So basically, my takeaway from this anatomy interlude is the importance, the functional importance of the relationship between the scapula and the humerus, and that we want to take care when we think therapeutically of that joint, we want to think about moving the scapula itself, not just over the humerus, the arm bone, but also over the rib cage.
Yeah, because you have to have slide and glide. There are like 26 or 28 muscles of the shoulder girdle, and they attach to shoulder blades, arm bone, neck, the cervical and thoracic vertebra, to your to your lats. I mean, it's just like everything's connected. And so we need good slide and glide, basically. And we have our best slide and glide when we move the concavity over the convexity.
Okay, there was a question about should we maintain a lumbar curve while we're doing this
It depends on how comfortable you are in the squat. You may need to you may need to tuck your tailbone and push your low back into the wall to
to
stay
survive?
in an ideal world. You progress to a place where you're able to have a normal lordosis, to have you be able to slide your fingers between the low back and the wall. But listen, if you need to drive through that wall, drive through the wall. And you may find that one arm is more intimate with the wall than the other. That's okay. Symmetry is an illusion. You're not trying to make the sides the same. We first need to know where we are before we start thinking about where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say
Clear.
don't force, don't force. Just pay attention, and then you practice because with practice, things change.
All right, I'm
Okay.
doing one more round, Mary.
Okay. 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 Yeah.
And there's a few things in the chat. Maybe you wanted to look. Katarina was saying something about the
The
shoulder
shoulder blade
blade.
floating above the ribs, not attached to it. That's an oversimplification, I would say, of the anatomy. They don't float. Shoulder blades don't float. Okay, they ride. They ride over and around the ribs, and there are plenty of the myofascial tissue is related to both the shoulder blades and the ribs.
Mm,
I've seen it in cadaver lab. Collarbone, it has to rotate. Nita,
hold
it
on.
rotates
Wait. Let me get you.
as you
Yeah.
move as you move your shoulder blades and your arm bone, your collarbone is rotating because there's an acromioclavicular joint. So there's an articulation. A lot of us are tight in the scalenes and the sternocleidomastoid muscle, and that affects the rotation of the collarbones, and we'll work on some of that later in the course. Okay.
Oh, Jane says watching Lizzie do this up the wall, I realize how bad my frozen shoulder is. Yeah.
Sometimes it helps to really see other people, not like to compare that we're bad or good or whatever, but just like because we have mirror neurons and we're seeing a reflection of ourselves. And
Yeah.
so, it just
And
it can
Jan wants to know if you can't touch both elbows and hands, which one do you start with? Like if you can't touch the elbows and the hands.
the hands, the
Okay.
hands. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now we've delayed enough because now it's wall push-up time.
I saw that.
You got to do push-ups. You got to do push-ups. You don't have to do them on you can do them on the wall and you can do them just straight up facing the wall. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to do push-ups. Lizzie, lower your hands just a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And we're going to change our hand position. And
Okay.
notice, I'm not saying, Lizzie, hold your elbows in. You got to work your arms in all different positions. You got to change load distribution. So we do push-ups with the fingers pointing toward the ceiling or even the fingers turned out a bit and the index fingers pointing up and the elbows coming out. And then we turn the hand so that the middle fingers are pointing up toward the ceiling and we keep the elbows down toward the ribs and we do push-ups that way. You got to change your hand position. You got to change how you're working. Okay. Yet push-ups are not the same as chaturanga. Chaturanga is the pre-push-up position. Okay. Chaturanga dandasana is a type of push-up, right? So it's technically up plank and low plank, if you will. But in order to do chaturanga dandasana, you got to be able to do push-ups. And if you can't do full body push-ups, you really don't need to be doing chaturanga dandasana. You got to start at the wall and work your way down toward the mat because otherwise you're going to go into the weakest joint articulations of your body, which is going to be your shoulders. You're going to write those checks with your shoulders. In a chair, you can do this by putting your hands on the seat of the chair, but you really can't do them seated. Okay. I guess actually that's not true. If you took your chair to the wall and sat and you turned it perpendicular to the wall and put your hands on the wall, you could approximate the push-ups. Oh yeah, Katie, if you have a broken arm, please, not until the bone's healed, not until at least 12 weeks. And then you got to be very, very careful. You should check in with me in 3 weeks, okay? Please, Katie.
You mean this, Mary, basically?
Yeah, you can do it like that, or you can turn the chair 45 degrees.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and do it like that. Yeah. I mean, what should you be feeling in push-ups Everything?
Remorse.
No, you should feel your chest working, your arms working, your abs working, your quads and your glutes working. Like push-ups aren't just about your arms. Like you got to hold your organs into your body. You got to push your thigh bones toward the wall behind you to manage the weight of the pelvis. Don't drip your belly toward the floor. You got to stabilize your vertebral curves, and you do a bunch of like there are over 600 muscles in the body, and the great thing about push-ups is they all come to the party. I inhale as I go down, exhale as I push away. Inhale to gather the energy, exhale to power through. Let's just do, you're done.
And no,
One or
no,
two.
no. I wanted to ask a question. I'll do five more. Is it really? I never thought of it that way. Is it really every muscle in the body? I mean,
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, like
That's
for people with forward head position, push-ups can really help if you look at a spot a little bit ahead of you because the spinal erectors, the cervical erectors help support the weight of the head. It can help bring your head back in line. Like notice too, do you push your tongue into your teeth or into the roof of your mouth? Like
yes.
you want your tongue, you want because your tongue's a muscle. Your tongue's actually the strongest muscle in the body, believe it or not, when you think in terms of size and all. Your tongue ideally just relaxes in the basin of the mouth. Okay, it's not fun. Pay attention to where you're feeling sensation and where you're not. This is important because if you have disc herniation at L3, L4, you may not notice as much abdominal activation. And if that's the case, please don't try to do this on the floor, do full body push-ups. Please start at the wall or with your hands on a table or on the seat of a chair. Lizzie, would you be willing to just demonstrate two or three using the chair, your hands on the seat of the chair, which is going to be a little harder. It's often easier on a bench. Like I have rugby play, like literally played rugby. I have rugby player shoulders, so an Iyengar chair is too narrow for me. I will use my weight bench.
Yeah, I know that. I love to do it on a park bench, like
Park benches
pause.
are great. Kitchen countertops are great. Bathroom vanities. Throw a couple of these in to your day. So it's harder now, right, Lizzie?
It's a lot harder, and I feel that I want my hands wider.
Yes.
There was a question in the chat about how many push-ups do you recommend daily? Do you have an answer to that?
I would say you want to do push-ups to where the last two or three you're cursing. You're like, these are going to be really hard. I, I, so that's different
So,
for, I would
right.
say try, try to build up gradually, judiciously, patiently, compassionately to 3 sets of 10 push-ups. And then maybe you get up to doing 30 in a row. Okay. Okay. All right, now let's stretch it out. And you can do the seated, you can do it standing. We're going to bring our hands to namaste position. And now all I want you to do, press your hands in, press your fingers in through the length of the fingers, and just drag your hands down towards your bladder. Okay. Try to keep the heels of the hands together. Just your hands are glued together. No, so you're not like trying to keep them stuck together, but you know what I mean? Just keep the pressure through them. And you feel how nice this is through the carpal tunnel into the forearm. And then relax and do this 2 more times. Yeah, I like to roll the wrists after. The other thing that I like to do is I'll take my um, third and fourth fingers, okay, and I let my other fingers just sort of relax, and I hold my middle and ring fingers, and I just pull them back. Yeah, like that, Lizzie. I love that too. And you just stay for, 3 to 6 rounds of breath and release, do the other hand, and then do another namaste stretch. And this is to just really relieve the hands. We need to stretch our hands because one of the first places we'll get arthritis, osteoarthritis in the body is here in the thumb.
Mm-hmm. The thumb.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Doesn't it feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I don't do this. I don't do the opposite because
This, yeah.
yeah, because it feels gross.
Yeah.
But what I will do, however, is I'll work, let's say you have Dupuytren's contracture or trigger finger. What I'll do is I will just gently pull on my fingers and then I'll stack my fingers and work them down, right? Using from the knuckle, and I'll just press down, right? Like this. And then I will work, trying to flex into little kitty paws. I I
Oh, I
in
can't even do that really.
meow meow, my inner Penelope. Oh, and it's hard with the fourth because of the way the nerves are bundled. And so this is a great thing to do. Those are called
And what
paws.
about the thumb? How do we work the thumb
Oh,
for that?
the best things you can do for your thumb is just to grab this juicy pad, that juicy thumb pad, and just tug it a little bit. Just pull it up a little bit, drag it out a little bit. You can feel all the meat, because those flexor and extensor hallucis muscles are thick because your thumbs are powerful, right? And so you just give it little.
And they're tired from texting.
They are testing. Okay. All right. So then now we've bought ourselves enough time. Now it's time to monster walk. So now is when you need that short resistance band that I'd like you to have. If you don't have it, you can use a yoga strap. You're going to make a loop and you want to set your stance so that your feet are shoulder width apart, not directly under your hips. They're going to be a little wider. You can turn your toes out, okay? A big toe width or even a little more. And you put the stretch. Some people like the resistance band above the thighs. Some people like it below the thighs. Sit down, sit down, sit down. And constant tension. Don't step in so much in the middle. Little babies, little crab steps. Let's say you're like, I'm not bending my knees. Keep your legs straight. Walk like a penguin.
If you're a knee person, you're saying.
Yeah. Just keep
Okay.
constant tension on the strap. And you just take little baby steps from one side of the room, and then you go back, then you rest. And then you go back to the other side of the room, and then you go back to the other side of the room, and then you rest. So one trip across the room and back is one. And
There's
you,
a couple questions in the chat, Mary. There was a question about shoulder blades in push-ups, and there was a question about rectocele. If you would look at those while we're
oh,
torturing ourselves over here.
um, all of this is fine for rectocele. Just don't hold your breath or push out through your abdominal wall. One of the biggest problems for people with cystocele or rectocele is an increase in intra-abdominal pressure, meaning they're not breathing into their lungs, they're breathing down too low in their bellies and they're creating too much belly pressure. So pay
Hmm.
attention to your belly pressure. You got to learn to contract your abdominal wall from the top of, well, I'd say from the front of the coccyx, from the front of the tailbone all the way up to the dagger point of the breastbone, meaning you lift up and back. Okay? All right? Uh,
Hmm.
and don't go to failure because you got to build the foundational strength first. Go to fatigue where those last two or three repetitions are questionable, but you don't collapse. Okay.
Hmm.
And Silka, in terms of why only two fingers for that stretch, it's because it gets right into the median nerve. You're flossing your median nerve.
Whew, my
Yeah.
bum. I'm feeling my
Yeah.
bum, Mary.
I love it. I love the glutes. But this is what protects us from plantar fasciitis. This is what helps stabilize our hips, our sacroiliac joints, takes load out of L5S1, and it helps us reduce fall risk. Okay, you got time to do two things. I want you to do wall push-ups and I want you to monster walk.
Okay, wow. That's like those are your or any push-ups. Push-ups and monster walks are your
Yeah. Yeah, tons of studies on this. And again, you're not doing 800 of them, even though it may feel that way. Okay. But you're getting your lateral stabilization subsystems, and that's what we need to do. And listen, I'll do this with weights. I'll do this and do curls into shoulder presses. I love to add weight. I lift weights like crazy because I've always done it. I was a high level athlete, and
So
but you
this
guys,
is if we come to your house, we're going to just find you doing this.
yeah. Every room in my house has some sort of torture device in it.
Okay. This
Resist.
is really hard. This is
I
really
know.
hard.
I know. I know. Yeah. So I like to do these. Honestly, most of us don't strength train enough, but let's say 3 days a week. 3 days a week, every other day. Aim for every other day. Okay. All right. Now get rid of the resistance band. Set the dumbbells down if you were saucy enough to pick them up. And now we're going to do a squat with an alternating leg lift, which is like a standing dead bug or a standing dead yogini. Okay.
Okay.
You can do this with your back at the wall. So for balance. Um, you can do this with a chair behind you where you sit down into the chair and get up. Sit down to get up. That's a tremendous functional training exercise. Okay, so where you put your hands is up to you. You can put them on your hips. You can put them in prayerful mudra at the heart center because let's face it, now is as good a time as any. Or for more load, more difficulty, put your hands on top of your head or at the back of your head without pulling your head forward. Set your stance comfortably for you. You can have the second toes pointed forward, or you can turn your toes out a bit. That's going to give you more hip stability. Now you can skip the squat and you can just work on bringing one knee up toward the chest, lower, and bring the other knee up toward the chest and lower. You could also just tap a foot in front of you and bring it back. Tap a foot in front of you and bring it back. But let's say you want to do the whole shebang. You sit down into the chair that isn't there, and then as you come up, bring a knee up towards your chest. Yeah. You can do opposite arm, opposite leg. Sit
Yeah,
down in
what is the
there.
arm doing this or is the arm staying on the
It's up to you. I
Okay.
personally will do this with weights, alternating arm and leg.
Okay, let me try with the chair.
I love the chair because it gives you a stop, and that's a
Exactly.
functional stop because we want to be able. How many times have you been to do you remember your grandmama or I remember my great grandmama and they can't get out of the chair. I see it with my parents now. My mom is 85 and my dad is 79. And my dad actually has a chair that like lifts him and
Whoa. Yeah, there's kind of like there's a kind of, a shuffle like a okay. Here it's like I'm getting ready to get up. There's a
yes,
preparation. There's a thing going on
yes,
that I can see in my
yes.
mind from
And
my
again,
grandmother.
I like to do this to fatigue, not to failure, but to where I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And then I do a couple more. Because that's where
I
honestly
love
learning arises. And that last 2 to 3 repetitions where it's really hard, that's where you make your biggest gains. Same
I
thing at
love seeing you all in the little I can see all the Zoom squares. Everyone's bouncing up and down.
I love it too. I've been spying on everyone. I'm trying to keep track of everyone. And here's the thing, right? Like I'm not saying keep your chest lifted. Let your body move. Now, I'm not saying dump your chest onto your thighs, but notice I'm not saying, keep lifting your chest because you don't need to. Your body knows what to do. Okay? Let's just do a couple more.
And what is the benefit? I mean, I understand the functional movement of up down. That's clear.
Mhm.
But what is the added benefit of the lift of the knee? Why do you add that, Mary?
Balance challenge, motion control, dynamic motion control for your gait, for walking.
Yeah,
Think about it. What are we doing? We're combining Utkatasana with the prep for Utthita Hasta Padangustasana. That what
right.
you know?
And also going upstairs.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. All right. Last one. And then take a
Whew.
few. Yeah. Now, when
I'm
I do
warm.
the dumbbells, again, what I do is when I sit down into the squat, um, I sit down into the squat and I curl. And then when I bring a knee up to the chest, I do a shoulder press. Yeah. Sometimes I'll change it around too. Just depends. I love it with the dumbbells though. Of course, I also do
Oh,
power cleans and deadlifts at the gym. So,
it's a lot harder, Mary.
I know. Remember, it's conscious choice is difficult and we need the loading. But listen, for most of us, let's just start with body weight. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
And
And
what
I
about this? Like the band and then using that to add resistance?
love, love, especially for people with knee and hip problems or SI joint problems, that resistance band functions like an external ligament. Yeah. Doesn't it feel
Yeah,
good?
because I really like on the lift, there's something very nourishing going on in my deep core when I'm lifting with the
It's called your
resistance band.
transversus abdominis. And so if you have
Yeah.
rectal, if you have prolapse, bladder or rectum, cystocele is bladder prolapse, rectocele is rectal prolapse, you add that band and it'll help because you got to train your TVA. Yeah. And here's the thing with organ prolapse. You got to be really careful not to lift too heavy too fast because you don't want to cheat by blowing your organs out further. You got to be able to hold everything in and up. That's why it's important to have a ladder of progression. And it's important to do things differently because doing the same thing over and over again, body gets bored, doesn't learn new tricks. And all kinds of studies show that postmenopausal women, you can be 70 years old and you can build lean muscle and bone density by doing the type of work we're doing. And you will build it the same way a 32-year-old pre-menopausal woman will.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Never too late. Okay. Okay. Um, okay. Now we're going to come down. The good news is, my friends, we're almost done. Okay. And we're going to come down now onto the mat. Um, you can do this next stuff seated in a chair. You can't do it standing.
Do I need anything props wise?
Yeah, you'll need a block and your resistance band.
Okay.
And yeah, block and resistance band. Okay, so now we're going to do the dynamic bridge pose with the hip lift. Now, if you're in the chair, you're like, well, how am I going to do this in a chair? Well, you got to put your back on the chair seat. That's what you got to do, right? Or you can just work on clenching your buttocks. Butt clenching has value. So if you're seated, you can also just work on squeezing those sweet cheeks together. Okay. Okay. All right. Now take your resistance band and place it around your thighs above your knees. And then you got to position your legs wide enough so that you've got constant tension on that band. Okay. And now please turn your heels out a little wider than your toes. Just a little. You're gonna find a place where you kind of click in. That's neutral for you. Arms long by the sides of the body. Shoulder blades are heavy. Shoulder blades are just melting into the mat. The arms are heavy. They're melting into the mat. And now I want you to exhale and lift the hips up, squeeze the bum, and then inhale and lower. Now, this is the opposite of what we normally do. I want you to exhale on the exertion and inhale as you lower. If it's too weird for you, inhale to lift because the belly's open, exhale to lower. But one of the biggest mistakes a lot of us make when we're doing any movement is we hold our breath, right? And notice I'm not saying to tuck or tilt your tailbone. Your pelvis knows what to do. I want you to focus on pressing down between the second and third toes through the center line of the heel and pushing out against that resistance band while you squeeze your bum together. They're called hip thrusts in the gym. I like to do this with my back on a chair. I'll do this with my back on a chair. I suppose you could do this standing at the wall where you start in a squat position at the wall and like kind of a high squat at the wall and then lift your pelvis away from the wall. Yeah. Um, Laurel, I'll look for the reference about the 70-year-old. I just read the study a few weeks ago. Dr. Stacy Sims, I adore her work. I've read all, I think, 110 of her clinical studies and everything. I have her books. I did her menopause course. I totally dig her. She talks about this as well. Um, yeah, I am really the body. We're designed to move. We're designed to move through our life cycle, and the body likes to work. And yeah, there's all kinds of evidence now. I'll look for it though, Laurel. I'll make a note to myself to look for that study and put it into the course discussion board. Study.
Or you can send it to me. I'll add it to the further reading section.
Awesome. Lean muscle. Do a couple more, like three or four more. Just, you know, don't torture yourself. I'd like everyone to be able to, you know, get up and down from a chair tomorrow. Lean muscle building. I'm making a note to myself. See, I'm old school. I still write things down. Gen X, Gen X.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
Feel good? Okay.
Yes.
You're going to ditch the resistance band. And we're going to come into the seated or supine Baddha Konasana with staged AD, adduction, and staged AB, abduction. You can put a block between your feet for more challenge. I have a hip replacement. I use the block between my feet because I get better biofeedback from it and I feel more stable. So try it with or without the block. And if you're seated, you're just sitting up and you're in the Baddha Konasana position. Your feet are on the floor. You've got the block between them or not. And you're going to do exactly what we're doing, which you're going to exhale. You're going to squeeze the knees a third of the way up and stay. And then you're going to squeeze them another third or so and stay. And then you're going to squeeze the rest of the way without forcing the knees together. You're not forcing the knees together. You just come to where you have a natural bony block, a bony stop. You stay. And then you're going to reverse. You're going to inhale about a third of the way and stay. Inhale another third and stay. Inhale the remaining third and stay. Hover. Don't surrender your legs. There's no rest for the competent. We're women. We know that. So now go into the next squeeze. Okay, so you're not resting between the so-called repetitions. This is excellent for the clicky hips, those of you with the clicky hips, and for pelvic floor, for organ prolapse, as someone who had a stage 4 rectocele, I resolved it doing stuff like this in tandem with 12 weeks of really intense pelvic floor physical therapy. Yeah.
What about the abdominal engagement? Do I need to tell them or think about it, or do I let them
Just
do it?
let them do their thing. So often the brain gets in the way of the body. You know, just see, notice how are you feeling in the belly. Can you take your attention from the the loud adductor group and can you take your attention to your pelvic floor? Are you noticing what sensations are you noticing in your pelvic floor throughout the movement arc? And let's just do, let's see, two more, okay? Two more squeezes, staged squeezes, and two more staged letdowns. And like I think this is so important for yoga folk because we do so much to like stretch groins, but not a lot to strengthen them. And this we get both concentric and eccentric strengthening for the inner thighs, for the groins. And that's important because it helps with our pelvic floor function and it helps hold the heads of our thigh bones into the hip sockets and reduce joint aches. And this is the last one. And now just rest in Baddha Konasana, but please make fists with your hands and put your hands to the outer thighs. I don't want you to just drip out of your hips, but I want you to notice how you feel. Yeah. And even in this position, the so-called position of rest, you're still pushing your feet into the block or into one another. Because I want you to feel the tissues supporting the weight of the legs. Can you feel that, Lizzie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now go ahead and separate your feet, soles of the feet on the mat, knees toward one another. And then I want you to roll onto your non-dominant side. You got to bring the block with you. You're going to place the block. You're going to rest on your non-dominant side. You're going to place the block between your knees, between your knees. And you can rest with your head on your arm or hold your head in your hand, whatever works for you. Top hand on the mat in front of you, knees bent comfortably for you, thighs are positioned comfortably for you. Roll your top hip forward just a little bit of the bottom hip so that you're not digging your lower greater trochanter into the mat. You want to be in front of that greater trochanter. Okay. And now I want you to support the weight of your top lower leg. So separate your feet, flex your feet. And now I want you to think about bringing that little toe side of the foot up towards your mat. You're rolling your thigh in against the block and then slowly pull it down. This is an internal rotation or medial rotation exercise for your hip. I love this. So again, my clicky hip people, this is really helpful for you. My people who are tight in the posterior pelvic floor, rectocele people, this is for you. My folks with urge and stress incontinence, this is for you. And we just slowly pull the foot up and slowly pull it down. And this is so interesting because the first aspect of hip movement that we lose with osteoarthritis is internal rotation.
Mm.
Mhm. And I find I love this. I think it feels so good. I do add a resistance band to around my
Wait,
ankle.
I want to try that.
I add it around my ankles because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not just a sadist, I'm also a masochist.
Remind us of the difference. A sadist likes to torture others, and a masochist likes to torture yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I like to cover both sides of the coin. I'm a full spectrum sort of gal. You feel how that changes things?
Yeah, so what am I feeling this outer? Is it IT band or is it
It's your
gluteus
tensor.
medius?
You'll feel your glute med, your glute min, and you'll feel your tensor fascia lata. Your tensor fascia lata is an internal rotator, and it's what helps. It's one of the muscles that helps you clear the ground when you are in the swing phase of walking, so you don't catch your toe.
It feels like something really deep inside there
That's
is
because it
going
is.
up.
Yeah, and you're
Okay.
also getting into your quad fem. You have 5 different hip rotators, and we don't often train them this way.
No, we would just stretch them in yoga. I just stretch my hips all the time.
I know. I know. But if we want to have better hip mobility, we actually need to train the muscles. And you can use
So
a bolster between your legs too. Okay. And try not to jerk the movement. The resistance band definitely makes it harder. So you just find your level of work. Let's just do one or two more and then we're going to switch sides. You're aware of it, aren't you, Lizzie?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, hip mobility is not necessarily my primary goal. Is like I want to be walking in my 80s. I want to be walking well in my 80s, but I guess I need hip mobility for that.
Yeah. Um, Jennifer's saying she notices she does a lot with her jaw when she does her exercise. You know what? What's fascinating, Jennifer, is your jaw skeletally, it looks a lot like your SI joints. And so often when we have hip instability or underperforming glutes or uh, an interrupt between our pelvic floor, our transversus abdominis, and our multifidi, we will distort our jaw.
Interesting. Okay, I'm switching sides. Can't take it anymore.
Yeah, switch sides, please switch sides. Yeah, so it's common. It's common. You'll notice you're clenching, and that's why I will often ask people to relax their tongues because they're pushing their tongues up into the roof of their mouth, which affects the jaw. And what happens in the jaw is related to your vagal nerve tone. And so I want us to down regulate a bit, even though we're working. So I thank you for sharing that because I assure you, you're not alone. Yeah. And you just do the other side. And you can see, Lizzie, it's less range, right? It's hard.
Hmm.
That's okay. You can choose, do I want more load? Do I want more range? If it's the first time you've ever done this, or maybe it's the second time you've done this, do it without the resistance band and then play with it because you have time before we come together again. And I want you to practice these things and get them into your bodies before, you start experimenting on others. You know?
In case you teach, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you want to know what your experience is like so that you're prepared for the experiences of others. Yeah, and all of this is in the PDF. And the reason why we don't send the PDF out before class is because I sometimes make changes the morning of
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because I do that.
That's the genius of Mary. We often get questions if we could distribute the PDF before, but I will upload it right after class when I upload the recording, and I'll email everyone tomorrow with the link.
Yeah.
So it's there for you. You will have it. You can download the PDF with the sequence and you can print it out and put it next to your mat, and then you can practice it
Yeah.
without going to
Plus,
your computer.
Plus, I don't want you to have like preconceived notions about what's going to happen. Like, let's,
Yes.
especially if you teach, like, it's so hard sometimes to stay connected to that beginner mind, right?
Yes. And the experiential mind, the
Yeah.
direct experience, not the analytical mind.
Yes, yes. And it's so like, especially if you're going to do the certification quizzes and the exam and stuff, you might be thinking, oh, is this going to be on the exam? You know?
Yes, we are thinking that, Mary.
So just one or two more, and then we're going to come back to cat cow. And that's the last active thing we're going to do. We're going to come back to cat cow because we want to see what's changed, feel what's changed.
My advice for when you take the quizzes and the exam, really, it sounds funny, but it's like put yourself into a state where when you answer the questions, you just think, what sounds like Mary Richards? Like, what could I imagine Mary saying most? That's how I passed the experiential anatomy exam on the first go. I just thought, hmm, like, what's the most Mary Richards vibe of the multiple choice? And then I was like, it's definitely this one. And I got almost all of them right just from that kind of like, and no, and what I really mean by that is, of course, this is a very serious course, but we are so into experiential learning. So for those of you who want to do the certification, of course, you're taking notes and you're attending class and doing the replays and everything, but also not to underestimate the value of kind of absorbing the material. Because if you absorb the material, it's in your cells in a different way. And then when you do the quizzes and the exam, you will know the right answer, not from here, but kind of from your gut feeling. That's what I've experienced studying with you, Mary.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the other thing too. Remember, you have 3 years.
Yes.
You have 3 years. So you've got time is big. Right. So now we do cat cow, as much cat cow as you'd like, and then we're going to go to Stonehenge restorative. Okay, I like Stonehenge restorative because I like to have my legs elevated above the plane of my heart because it reduces the edema in the lower extremity. And, you know, like for me, because I've had cardiac ablation and stuff, I've had heart interventions. It's really, I just really like it. I do Stonehenge or Viparita Karani like every day, honestly, every day. Usually I'm a Viparita Karani person, but that can be kind of baroque in its setup. And I didn't want to take up too much of your time because I had a feeling I'd run a little over.
And I also think for those of us who are in Europe and it's nighttime, I think Shavasana is a better energy than Viparita for the
Yeah.
night.
So if you
Yeah.
want to do supported Shavasana, that's fine. But I'm a Stonehenge restorative person too. So it's up to you. But now the great news is we're going to do restorative because
Fabulous.
this is how we reduce our emotional reactivity, reduce cortisol. We want to start moving in the direction of parasympathetic imminence.
Okay, what I want to suggest is that we take a 2-minute bio break because it's hard to relax if you have to pee. So we'll just pause. Mary, you can look through the chat if there's anything you want. I'm going to.
Yeah, Lizzie's going to take a bio break. All right. Oh, yes. So I'm going to revive that. I'm just going to talk a little bit at myself. If anyone wants to, pop in the chat or whatever, try to be a little quiet. Where am I? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Elizabeth, it's amazing, isn't it? The difference between the right and left sides. I remember many, many years ago, like maybe it was 17 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 17 years ago. I was in a workshop with Paul Grilly and we were talking about this. Paul and I were. I was in this yin workshop with him. And um, we were talking about how symmetry is an illusion. And so now you know that if you have one side that's clickier and weaker, that side needs more attention paid to stabilization and strength training work than it needs stretching. So that's something to consider in our practice is that we really want to meet ourselves where we are and not treat the right side the same as the left. And also, like, to not expect every time we do something for it to feel the same, because every time we do it, it's the first time we've done it. Um, okay, Lizzie, I'm going to be quiet. And would you talk through your setup?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a pillow for my head. This is just a couch pillow. You can also fold a yoga blanket. And this goes up here. I've also put down a blanket for extra softness and padding. You want your floor surface when you practice a long shavasana like this to be as soft as possible. So I have a cover for my eyes and I have a blanket for warmth nearby. I've taken my firmest bolster and placed it atop 2 blocks, matching blocks to create a pedestal. And then I'm going to drape my legs up and over. I also recommend socks. This is a great moment for socks. You want to be warm. It's one of the key tenets of restorative yoga to make sure that your nervous system feels warm enough to relax. So I'm going to put on my big wool socks and I place my legs over, making sure that there's contact between the back of my knees and the bolster. And the drooping of the feet is a feature, not a mistake. So the feet are supposed to droop down a little bit. Then I like to take the flesh of my calves and roll it out, roll them out, roll that calf flesh out so that the toes are slightly passively internally rotating. I'm not doing anything, but because I've placed the calf flesh, they do that. That feels really good in the hips. And then I cover myself up with a blanket that Nico's grandmother made, which is like hand knit. It's super or crocheted. It's really heavy wool blanket. Weight can feel very soothing to the nervous system in this type of pose. And then I'm going to come down onto my elbows and let my sacrum fully come in contact with the mat as I lengthen my rib cage away from my pelvis as I slowly roll down and find the pillow. I don't just want to support like the tip of the head, the tip of the skull. I want to draw the pillow down in so it touches my shoulders, that acromion shelf, I think it's called, the roof of the scapula, like the top part that we were feeling back there. The pillow comes in and supports that, or the yoga blanket comes all the way in and supports that. And then I like to turn the top of the pillow, even those top corners, down slightly so that my forehead is elevated higher than my chin. And I'm going to take an eye bag or an eye mask to make darkness. And if you would, Mary, if you would mute me, I think you can do that now. And I open my arms to the side so the armpits can breathe, the side lungs can breathe.
So once you get settled in your position of comfort and ease, make any adjustments that you would like to improve your comfort about 10%, and then resettle. And with each inhalation, feel the skin of the body gently stretch. And with each exhalation, feel yourself settle more deeply into the mat. As you inhale, visualize taking in warm, radiant, golden white light. And as you exhale, releasing anything that no longer serves you. Each inhalation bringing fresh, nourishing energy into the body. Each exhalation releasing anything that no longer serves you. Fill the body with breath and let it go. Do this again. Fill the body with breath and let it go. Notice the presence of the body on the earth. Notice the weight and texture of your clothing and the props. And notice the air on your exposed skin. Expand your attention into the space around you. And when you're ready, begin to ease yourself over to the side most comfortable for you, making any movements along the way that you enjoy, and coming to rest on the side body. Breathe into the skin of the back. Feel the back lungs expand as you inhale and relax as you exhale. And when it suits you, ease yourself up slowly to a comfortable position, breathing into the new orientation of the body.
Heavenly. That was heavenly, Mary. We would love to know how you feel in your body, dear yogi who's been practicing with us. Please put into the chat in a single word, if you could summarize how you feel in your body. My word is heavenly. Amazing, light, sublime, peaceful, nourished, rested, calm, special, present. Inhaling the breath, open the palms away from the body. And with an exhalation, bring them together in front of the heart. Namaste. May we live like the lotus at home in the muddy water. We love you, Mary Richards.
Oh, I love you all too. Thank you all so much for your time and attention.
This was fantastic.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it so much, and I'm looking forward to our journey together.
Absolutely. We're here to support you. If you have any questions, you email lassiter.yoga@gmail.com. You can start working your way through month 1 on the learning platform. We will gather again on Wednesday, the 10th of June. I will be in Greece, zooming in from Greece, where I will be on a women's retreat. Mom will be leading us for that class. The good news is Sarah Jane has set up the Zoom link, so it's the same Zoom link. You've now registered for the live meetings. We will send it out the day before. The Zoom links always lives on the learning platform where you can find it. And it's the same time, same place, same link, so that your nervous system can down regulate. And even if it's 1 minute before the Zoom, you can quickly log into lassiter.yoga, click on that Zoom link, and it'll take you right into the meeting. So we are grateful for you, Mary Richards. We are grateful for you, our dear students. We're looking forward to sharing this journey with you. Thank you for trusting us with your time and attention. Big namaste.
Namaste.
Oh, I wanted to do a group photo if
Oh,
you would like for Instagram to do a group photo. Hold on. I will remove the spotlight and we will go to gallery view. Turn off your video if you don't want to be in the photo. Otherwise, yeah. Here comes Rachel. All right, everyone smile for the camera. If you're excited about this, if you're willing, let me close the chat so we don't see you. All right, just smile. Very good. And now let's do an excited wave. Yay! Okay, dear yogis, thank you so much. Have a great night. Lots of love. Bye, Mary. Great job. Great
bye.
job today, Mary. Great job.
Yeah, thank you.